Using accommodating resistance is extremely important. It's mandatory that we do this, okay? Accommodating resistance is this. We'll use bands or chains, lighten method, or bands from the bottom. As we go up and through range of motion, you're increasing your leverages. You know, you watch people bench, the hardest part's off the chest. As it gets up higher and higher, your leverages increase. If you do straight weight, a lot of people have done reps where they'll feel like they start to go up and they start to relax and back off, almost pushing, getting ready for the next rep when it comes off the chest. So actually you have bar deceleration. No matter what, it's impossible not to have bar deceleration if you don't have accommodating resistance. Okay? We don't want any bar deceleration. If we have bar deceleration, you're teaching yourself to slow down. So as you're going through range of motion, you'll slow down. In sports, that is not optimal. If you're a pitcher and you throw a baseball, you want the fastest part of your range of motion to be right at the release. A striker, MMA, a boxer, a kickboxer, you want the point of impact to be where you have the most hand speed. You don't want the most hand speed halfway out and in the second half it decelerate. And that's what the majority of athletes do. Okay? By having the accommodating resistance, you're not going to have that. You're going to have to accelerate all the way through the end of the movement because that tension is getting harder and harder and harder. You have to kind of outrun it. So physically and emotionally, you're set up to accelerate faster and faster through every range of motion. That's why years ago you'd hear people say, oh, don't work out if you're into sports because you'll get slower. And people say, well, nowadays they're saying, well, that's just not true. It is and it isn't. It is true if you don't use accommodating resistance and you don't set up your training right. Okay, but if you set up your training right, it isn't true. You should get faster, much more explosive. Okay? Laura, what's your best box jump from seated? And she's only box jumped a few times, so it's not...
42.5.
So 42.5 inches, she's 5'2". We have a guy that does kneeling jumps. From kneeling, he's 5'9". He can jump onto a 31-inch box starting from his knees. He also does 225 for triples. He's a 155-pound guy. 225 pounds on his back. Jump to his feet for 3 reps. We have another guy in our gym that does that with 275 pounds on his back. We have a 310-pound kid who's 6 foot, goes from seated. He hit a 45-inch box jump with a 30-pound vest and 10-pound ankle weights on. Okay, and he's a 310-pound kid to start off with. If you look at Westside, they have a kid now. They say last night he did 62-inch box jump.
Yeah.
It's between a 61, 62. They have multiple 60-inch box jumpers. Yeah, without taking a step. You know, so this isn't a drop step. This is from seated. You routinely see guys 50-inch box jumps that are 300+ pounds at Westside. So they are explosive all the way through the range of motion. And by using this accommodating resistance in this dynamic effort method, that's how they became that way. Okay, I can give you millions of examples of how fast and explosive a lot of these guys are, and guys that you'd never picture because of how just enormous that they are.